Hello everybody, my name is Carsten Lexer and today I am in Montreal and I do another version of GründerTalk here, and that means I'm not alone. I'm here with Jasmin, and Jasmin is a social entrepreneur. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Great pleasure, thank you.
What exactly is your social startup doing?
So our social startup is called SINGA Québec.
Okay.
SINGA, ça veut dire lien, connection in Lingala. And essentially the principle is to create spaces of encounter and meeting between people who are refugees, who have come here as refugees, and other members of civil society, immigrants, non-immigrants, people who are integrated, quote unquote, around shared passions and projects.
I mean, this is a big story at the moment. Refugees, they are everywhere, of course. So how can this startup then help them exactly? I mean, you connect them with other groups, with other organizations, but what exactly are you doing?
The principle is social connection, so it occurs through a number of means. We have launched so far a number of activities, a photo workshop with young Syrians who have arrived over the past year so they can learn the techniques of photography to document their arrival and their establishment here, and which culminated in an exposition that occurred at one of the major sort of cultural sites here in Montreal. We are now working with women who have arrived from Syria recently as well on learning techniques of video production. We have events monthly and weekly around, we can do picnics, we can do iftars, we can do all sorts of things. Anybody can propose a project within the community or within the ecosystem. But most notably, we're working on developing an entrepreneurial accompaniment program, and that's why we're here at the incubator called Entreprisme at HEC Montreal. It's developing a program, in fact, because a lot of times when refugees arrive in their host societies, with all of their experiences acquired prior, whether these are professional experiences, whether they're diplomas, whether they're simply internships, all sorts of things, it's really hard to have those things recognized here once arrived. So what do people do? A lot of times entrepreneurship becomes the most viable means of developing a thriving professional life. And it's really important also for social inclusion, entrepreneurship as a vector of integration.
And when I think about that, for example, in Germany, is it so easy for refugees to start a company? Because when you say it sounds so easy. Well, entrepreneurship can help them. Is it that easy?
It's definitely not a piece of cake, but it is, in fact, we part from the principle that, just like anybody else, people who arrive as refugees, refugee is just a status. It's in Canada even more, people that arrive as refugees, who arrive as refugees have the status of permanent resident. So even more, it's a symbolic etiquette. It's a symbolic label, but so it's really a question of people arrive with talents, with passions, with projects, with things to share. Entrepreneurship, it's definitely not, it requires discipline, it requires motivation, it requires being able to handle all sorts of setbacks. That's why SINGA becomes a structure. What we try and do is provide a structure all through the parcours, all through the sort of process, so that, from the beginning, when it comes to putting people in connection so that they can write a good business plan, they can meet the important human resources and all sorts of things, finding necessary resources to launch their enterprise, we're present to facilitate the context necessary to achieve that. But, here in Montreal in particular, there are lots of resources. There are a number of incubators that exist. Entreprisme is one of these incubators that provide accompaniment for, especially for people who are immigrants. I mean, that's really the principle of Entreprisme. It's really to work with people that are from quote unquote cultural communities. So what we do is we really serve as sort of guiding kind of presence all through the process.
And when you talk about that, it sounds so easy, because here you have the environment, you know how to deal with these people. Is it that easy? Were there challenges that you have encountered and that you had to overcome?
Definitely. Well, we also, first of all, we're a small team of 5.
Okay.
And a lot of us, yes, we're all immigrants within the team, actually. So we've encountered our own obstacles. Me, founding the organization here, I wasn't from Quebec. French is my second language. There are these sorts of challenges that I can sort of relate to as well in a certain respect. But the challenges we've really faced is adapting ourselves to the context, because SINGA was initially, it's an organization that is inspired by an organization founded in France of the same name, and there are SINGAs that have sort of spotted up around in a number of countries here around the world, and so it's really been a question of adapting ourselves to the local context, knowing the ecosystem that exists already. How do we integrate the ecosystem? How do we become a part of the ecosystem and also grow an ecosystem of our own to create an environment that facilitates and that favors entrepreneurship?
Let me ask you a last question, because you just said, well, you have different spots. I'm from Germany now, so when you talk about this here in Montreal, is there a local organization in Germany about that?
Yes, there is a local organization. It's called SINGA as well. It's based in Berlin. They've recently established an incubator that works with people who have arrived as refugees and who are entrepreneurs, and they've really succeeded. It's been funded entirely through crowdfunding, and they've succeeded in launching a number of really promising projects. So I really recommend that you check it out as well.
Where can I find it? Where's the website?
I think it should be SINGA. I don't know what the etiquette would be for the address would be for a German domain.
DE?
Sport Deutschland. Yeah, exactly.
SINGA DE.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Jasmine, thank you very, very much for taking the time and explaining what exactly you are doing. And well, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for watching.